I'm just here with my good old boy Solace, and we're gonna do a video for you. Well, mainly me, but he's gonna be here for support. Alright, today I want to share with you 4 spiritual beliefs that bring me deep, deep peace. I guess they could be quotes or sayings or mantras, however you want to refer to them, but they are something that I have essentially trained my brain to go to in times of stress, in times of happiness, just really in any time. I remember these things, and I guess the more I practice it, the more I remember it, the more it just becomes ingrained into my beliefs, and it becomes something I do have faith in. And so I'm going to share those with you because I find them extremely helpful. And I'm going to be honest, these past few days, I have been feeling some really uncomfortable stuff. Just a huge amount of anxiety. I've noticed. I've noticed my mind racing. I've noticed my mind trying to cling to different things, to worry about. Yesterday was really challenging. I just felt like I wasn't able to be present because this feeling, this like deep fear and this pit in my stomach was just like ruling me. And that pit in my stomach turned into like a stomach ache later. And eventually I was on the phone with my dad, and so I kind of got to just express what I was feeling. And eventually I started crying, and I think after that I felt a lot better. However, I still notice the anxiety happening today. So I'm just really trying to be more aware of it, be present for it, and be curious what it's here to teach me. But like realistically right now, I don't know. And yesterday especially was a really challenging time because I couldn't really figure out or understand what I needed to do, and perhaps there was nothing to be done besides notice. But either way, it was still uncomfortable, and I'm sharing this with you because the spiritual path is not just this, it's not smooth sailing all the time. It's facing uncomfortable feelings and emotions. It's facing darkness, and it's moving through things rather than avoiding things. However, I believe that faith is so important on the spiritual path, or having strong beliefs in certain things is so important, because in this life, like, good things happen to us and bad things happen to us, and what's important is how you respond to those things. And having faith, having a belief system, having something to believe in can really, really provide a sense of solace, and can provide you with a peace that surpasses all understanding, and perhaps a easier time moving through uncomfortable things. So I'll get right into it now. The first spiritual belief that I have, and this is probably the first one that I can remember having that just is a continuous thing that I remind myself of, the continuous thing that I believe deep down, is everything happens for a reason. And I know that can be pretty cliche, and it can be this typical like, oh yeah, don't worry, no, everything happens for a reason. There's a time to feel things, there's a time to grieve, to express those feelings and whatever, and that's all okay too. But if you have the underlying belief that everything happens for a reason, eventually you'll circle back to that and deep down know that everything happens for a reason. Yes, this happened, and it was hurtful, it was uncomfortable, but because I believe everything happens for a reason, I can have peace, more peace with that situation, potentially. And the thing with the spiritual path is, like, we might not know the reason, and that's not really our job to know, unless and until God brings that to our awareness. So until then, it's just this, I know everything happens for a reason, and I know I will know when and if I'm meant to know. Until then, just give it to God, like go through the experience and allow yourself to have peace through it. Again, I think there's a place to really feel what you're going through, and to just try to disregard that and say, oh, everything happens for a reason, everything happens for a reason. Honor your feelings, go through them, have that experience. But again, come back to the idea that everything happens for a reason, and that could potentially just bring you into like a full circle type thing where you're back at like peace. So the second belief is similar to the first one, but it's all for my good. And I learned this when I was studying Messianic Judaism, or perhaps it was just Judaism at this time, but Gamzu Latova is, I believe, Hebrew for it's all for my good. And so that's a saying that I just adopted. And again, it is similar to everything happens for a reason, but it's a little bit deeper than that because it's all for my good. I truly believe that life is about the journey of the soul. I truly believe that we are here to learn and grow and evolve. And I really, really believe that there is way more to life than just this existence on this earth. I think there is more to life even when our earthly life is over. It's all for my good, or Gamzu Latova. So again, have your feelings. Go through the experiences, whether positive or negative, uncomfortable or comfortable. Either way, when you start remembering that it's all for your good, your brain will just naturally start, at least for me, it will start finding reasons to reinforce that, as well as the peace that just that overall belief brings. It's all for my good. Essentially, everything that comes into my life is from God. Everything that comes into my life is here to help my growth in some way, even if it's uncomfortable. Again, it is all for my good. And again, I don't need to understand what exactly the lesson is right now. I don't need to know what it's here to teach me right now. I don't need to fully grasp it or understand it. But if I truly believe that it's all for my good, that brings me a huge sense of peace, and in a way something to look forward to. It's oh, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm having new experiences that are expanding me. Again, that's not always comfortable, but if you believe that it's all for your good, then really there's not much room there for being feeling like a victim or wondering why these things are happening to you. And so this is just something that comes to my mind often. Again, whether I'm going through positive stuff or negative stuff, I come back to this often, and I love it so much. It has become deeply ingrained in me. I think you got to start somewhere, even if you don't believe these things. If there's something about it that rings true to you, remind yourself of it. And try to remind yourself of it through everything. Remind yourself that it's all for your good. Remind yourself that everything happens for a reason. And it will just become ingrained in your brain. And I believe it would be the subconscious mind will start to become hyper aware of things in your reality that reinforce that. Or essentially, because we are creators of our reality, your mind will create an image in your reality that reinforces those beliefs. Another reason why beliefs are so powerful. Okay, the third thing is the question, what is this here to teach me? And this is a newer one for me, but I find it really helpful because, again, when I'm going through an uncomfortable situation, an uncomfortable thing, it's easy to let the ego take over. It's easy to try to defend and attack and preserve. But as I continue to remind myself that everything is a lesson here, and I remember to ask, what is this here to teach me? What are you here to teach me? What are you trying to teach me? It flips the script a little bit. Again, rather than the ego mode, like defense mode, it switches to a curiosity. And oftentimes I don't get a clear answer right away. What is this here to teach me? But I think the act of questioning it alone is powerful. And that also leaves room for my mind to reveal the answer to me at some point. And if you back it with the beliefs that it's all for my good and everything happens for a reason, the positive aspect of it just becomes even stronger. What is this here to teach me? Like, this is here to teach me something that's valuable to my soul's growth. I believe that deep down because I believe it's all for my good. And now I want to know, what is this here to teach me? And perhaps I can pray about it. Perhaps I can sort of fixate on that, like, what is this here to teach me, and like really dig deep to understand. Or perhaps I believe that God reveals things as we're ready, when we're ready. As long as we are seeking, there is a certain aspect that we play a part in. Like we bring the curiosity, we seek. We need to want to know. And when we bring those to our conscious mind, which I think prayer does, our mind again responds and projects that into our reality. If we're really curious, what is this trying to teach me? I am more likely to get an answer because I'm bringing that question to my awareness versus staying in victim mode, like that was terrible, whatever, and just trying to like disregard that whole experience. Does that make sense? Okay. The fourth thing, what is the fourth thing? I'm gonna have to go look. Another new one for me. So the fourth one is, there are no such thing as mistakes. Could be as simple as that, but to add to it, there are no such things as mistakes, just lessons learned. I personally, I have an extremely hard time making decisions because I am so afraid of making a mistake. I believe that stems from childhood. It's all good, so it's something that I'm working on now. So the idea that there is no such things as mistakes, it's like, it doesn't mean that something bad won't happen if you choose a certain thing. It doesn't mean that there won't be a particular consequence. That's just, there's cause and effect to everything. However, there's no such things as mistakes because whatever you chose it for a reason deep down, even if you're not fully aware of it. And if you believe that it's all for your good, if you believe that everything happens for a reason, whatever comes about from that decision, it's a lesson learned. Again, it might be a hard lesson. It might take a while to understand what it's even there to teach you. But for me, it was crucial, it has been really helpful to believe that there are no such things as mistakes so that I can get over this fear of decisions, so I can get over this fear of making a mistake and everything goes wrong. So I find it helpful. And also I'm learning more about free will. If we have complete free will, which I'm learning that we do, we can literally do anything we want in this life with our life. I don't want to get too much into that, but we have the option. We have the free will. And so we make choices, we make decisions. That's a part of the gift of our existence on this earth. If you make a choice, there will be some sort of consequence, whether positive or negative. But if you have beliefs where everything's a lesson and everything happens for a reason, I believe it is a lot easier to be receptive to what that lesson could bring. And if that decision leads to something that was really hard or really tragic, it was just a lesson learned. And now you don't have to make that you don't have to make that decision again. You don't have to make that choice again. Now you can choose something different, or you can choose to do the same thing knowing what it will bring. Again, free will. Like I said, this is a very new one for me. It's a new concept. It's a new belief. But it's helpful for me as a fairly indecisive, fear of mistakes type person. It's something that I've needed to sort of instill in myself just so I can partake in life more and stop being so afraid. But I don't have much more to say on that one in particular. But to sum it all up, the 4 spiritual beliefs that I live by and that bring me a sense of peace and would potentially do the same for you are: everything happens for a reason, it's all for my good, what is this trying to teach me? And there are no mistakes, just lessons learned. I think all of these are essentially the same thing, just slight different perspective, and they all add to each other, and they all just create a silver lining. Life can be hard. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know why things happen here. But I'm going to get into something here, but I do believe life is essentially just a moral test, and that is why we have free will. And I sort of believe that there's some sort of beings or presence or something up there watching each and every one of us, seeing how we will react if different things are thrown into the equation. And if you have faith, that makes this journey a whole lot more stable. It gives you, again, a silver lining, and it gives you a life raft. And whether or not these beliefs are deeply true, I don't think it matters. I believe they are true because, again, I believe the purpose of life essentially is to learn and grow and evolve, and it's for our soul. It's not about our meat suits. It's for our soul. So, anyways, these are the 4 spiritual beliefs that bring me peace. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have anything to add or to share, please do. And please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe to my channel as I continue to learn and grow and evolve, and to just break down my barriers that have kept me from creating content. So